Hello. Oh my gosh. Here we are. We are live. We are live on the interwebs. I haven't done one of these in forever. I am so super grateful to be here today. Happy Saturday, y'all. Um, it is spring in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm loving it. I'm here for it. I'm here for every single solitary part of it. It's beautiful here in the spring, and that is probably one of the huge reasons why so many people want to move here. Because I'm going to say, do you possibly know someone who is living in California now? Maybe it's you, and you were thinking about making that jump from California to somewhere else. Well, let me sway you about Washington. Washington, more specifically, Clark County, Vancouver, Washington, just over the river from Portland. So, today I have definitely some direct from the source info from both people who live here now that have moved here already and reload here, and from people who are working on doing this right now. But I do have some pretty funny stuff to share in the beginning. People that don't know me, my name is Cassandra Marks. I have been in restoration, real estate, and everything in between for about 13 years now. I love what I do. Obviously, Realtor Cass right here. If you've been following me for a while, I had done a lot of reload videos and then kind of fell off the bandwagon. I want to apologize for everyone who's watching, who watches this now or watches it later, that I got really busy. And I was really, really concerned about taking care of people in my world and making sure that they get houses and that they get taken care of. And I kind of fell off the bandwagon making some videos. So I'm here doing a live now. I see there's a few people here. And I am super duper excited to share some information, but we wanted. Okay. So first fun thing about me, I am not a person that sits on Reddit ever, whatever. One of my girlfriends sends me Reddits all the time. I read what she sends me. I laugh and then I go away. I have this accountability group for our YouTube stuff. There's a whole bunch of us that get on there on Friday mornings, and we were talking, and one of the gals on our accountability group brought up Reddit. And I was like, okay, fine. So we're sitting there, we're talking on our accountability call, getting our YouTube stuff together. And I look up, I Google what it's like to live in Vancouver, Washington. The first thing that pops up is Reddit. And I was like, oh, this could very much be good. And this is for the Californians out there. This person specifically asked this question is from California, and they were from San Francisco, and they were looking to make their move to Washington. And to Vancouver, Washington, not Vantucky. We'll cover that in a little bit. We'll talk about Vantucky here in a little bit. But the Couve. So they were asking all these questions. And so I was just skimming through and down all this, and people make me laugh. People are freaking hysterical about the things, but they're very informational. Very, very, very informational. Okay, so this person, Quackadoo. Interesting name. Okay. They asked, hello, Vancouver peeps. And for those who love it, we are looking to move from the greater San Francisco Bay Area to the Pacific Northwest, and Vancouver is one of our considerations. The place we have lived for the past 4 years has turned into one of the most dangerous places I've ever lived, let alone this coming from a person who has lived in downtown or shady areas in some large and larger cities. Some of Vancouver's appeal is that it seems on paper, interwebs, that it's a bit suburban, sleepy, and the safer side, but it doesn't speak to what it's actually like to live there. Thanks in advance. I looked forward to any perspective you can offer. Well, the first person is very informational and very, very nice, and said, lived in the Bay for a couple years, moved back, said, yeah, we have crime. There's some unhoused. If you move to the West Coast, if you live here, you should be used to that. Well, that's a pretty true statement. I would say if you are looking between San Francisco's homeless issue, and say Vancouver's homeless issue, Vancouver is like this. It really is. It's really not that bad. If you're coming from the Midwest and where I'm from, Minnesota, and moving here, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much homeless, because there's just not that much, because at -60 people get cold faster, because number 60 is a real number. But anyways, so very walkable, very bikeable, transit friendly, great options. Okay. So next person. Inky mistakes. And I'm going to apologize right now because I am going to swear in this one. And I actually, when you get to know me, I do have a potty mouth, but I'm censored most of the time. So Inky Mistakes goes, there are so many fucking people here. Literally only the statement they make. Well, I disagree with that statement. So I think Clark County's got something like about 120,000 people in it. And that's just Clark County, which isn't really that bad. So people love moving here because it's not as populated. And one thing you're going to see is they're like, well, why not Seattle? Well, like, have you ever driven in Seattle? It reminds me a lot of every time I've ever driven in California. To go like 30 miles, it's like 2 hours. And so I'm just like, nope, 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 and nope. But when people, so that's one of the big reasons people like moving here is because that they can get anywhere in just about 20 minutes. Like you can get just about from anywhere to anywhere in the Vancouver area in 20 minutes. Now, crossing the river to Portland, different story, but also still super easy to get to the airport. Okay, let's keep going because there's more funny ones. So, Inky had said there was a lot of fucking people here. And then one person named Bandit goes, Earth do be like that. Like people, I love people. Other things that people brought out, and I, didn't think about that as much because I live on a farm. I do a lot of my own farming and I bring a lot of my own food to the party, but don't expect any late night food options. There's not a ton. I was kind of looking, you can go like bar, restaurant, that kind of stuff. Delivery, I live outside of the delivery window. I live in the country. Nobody delivers here. Like Postmates does not come to my house. But then also, okay, people bring in a great point and say, they also talk about the weather. So these people are kind of funny. It rains all the time. The traffic is bad. I recommend staying in the Bay Area. It rains in the Bay Area and the traffic's even worse there. Okay, soda jerk. You're just being a jerk. Let's keep scrolling. There was some other really funny ones. You might find Portland more familiar. They welcome crap piles on the sidewalk. I mean, he's not wrong. But Vancouver has a few of its own problems. So anyways, Reddit's always like been an interesting place for me to definitely have some information. But if you're thinking about making that move from California to Vancouver, why has other people done it? So this person's asking why you should do it. And then there's a bunch of people with the snarky comments. So why should you and think about considering Vancouver as a place to live? Well, it is, and I will tell you, the number one place to retire in the state of Washington because of not only the affordability aspect, but also because of the income tax aspect. So if you haven't Googled, there's only like about 8 states in the US that don't have income tax, and Washington happens to be one of them, which is a really cool thing. But before we get too deep into taxes, I do want to talk about why people do it. So, and there's an affiliate with that. So I have a friend that is selling their townhouse. They are selling it for about $1 million. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet townhouse, right? Okay. Well, what can you get for $1 million here in Vancouver? Well, I looked it up and you can get a 5-bed, 5-bath, 4,600 or 4,067 square foot home. And I would love to share my screen with you and show you this house, but I am still really bad with technology. So I will get there hopefully soon. But okay, so you can have a 1,500 square foot house, or you can have a 4,000 square foot house. And let me finish that statement. 4,000 square foot house on top of a hill with territorial views of the Columbia River and or the Cascade Mountains. Or you can live in a townhouse. Cool. I like this one. But then okay, so now taxes. All right, so we said no income tax, but what about property taxes? Dollar value wise, like the amount you will pay is the same. But if you figure it into square footage, you are paying less. So I looked up said house that was 1,500 square feet, and they were paying about a little over $7,000 a year in property taxes. Well, that same $1 million house here in the Pacific Northwest is also $7,000, but you're not in 1,500 square feet, you're in 4,000. Okay. So there we go. What's other reasons why I've talked with people and why they have come to the Pacific Northwest? And it's because of nature, like 1000% nature. It is so absolutely beautiful up here in the summers, just green trees, and even in the winter too. Like it rains quite a bit, but not that much. You get that little trace stuff. So I think you're still getting a lot of what California has to offer, but you're getting more affordability, you're getting bigger houses, you're getting, more food, you're getting tons of other aspects of the same thing. So in California, depending upon where you live, you might like the beach, you might like the mountains, so you're driving. Well, they're a little bit further apart from just about everybody I've talked to. But here, within 90 minutes, not even 90, but like 90 minutes, you can get to the ocean. In 90 minutes, you can get to Mount Hood and go skiing. Love it. Or in 90 minutes, you can just hang out and go camping. I mean, and drive like down south a little bit into like the Willamette Valley and go wine tasting. There's so much to do. And honestly, like the traffic isn't horrendous. And if you want to do one thing one day, you can do that. You can do one another, you can do another. I'm going to tell you like tomorrow, we're just kind of spur of the moment, gonna just day trip out to the beach and hang out. I'm not even sure where we're gonna go, but we want to do some hiking. So we'll probably end up somewhere on the Oregon coast. But some of my favorite places are on the coast. And I was never that gal. I grew up in Minnesota and I was never that gal that wanted to live on the coast. I just knew farmland, farming, flatland, all that kind of stuff. And my first encounter with the mountains was in Denver when I was just fresh out of college and I was enamored by them, like absolutely enamored by them. But then I moved to the Pacific Northwest and I got mountains. I don't see them as much as I saw them in Denver, but I get them. And then I can go to the beach and I have found that like the water is so soothing. I could literally just go sit on a blanket at the beach all day, read a book, hang out, play ball with my dog. It is just beautiful. And the temperature this weekend is supposed to be like in the 60s, 70s out at the beach, which is going to be perfect for playing ball with the dog. But, anyways, back to the things. Why do people keep moving here? Okay. So, because you can afford more, because you can enjoy nature a lot. Taxes are less. So let's go back onto that income tax. Okay. Income tax here in the Pacific Northwest. So in the state of Washington, there is no income tax, but we do have sales tax. So like it's based on jurisdiction. Mine is about 6.87 to 7%, depending upon kind of like the area where we're at here. And then if you go over into Oregon and you need to make a large purchase, you can totally just buy stuff without taxes. And yes, Mike Smith, you're absolutely right. We do have zero retirement taxes. And it's great. So like if you've got pensions or 401ks, or you spend a lot of time, you've worked very, very hard to get the money saved up for your retirement. Why not move to Washington where you're not going to be taxed on it? And a lot of people, they're like, oh, Oregon's so pretty. I love Portland. Da, da, da. Well, Portland has one of the highest tax rates in the country, first of all. Second of all, it is pretty crowded, and the kind of the urban infill project that they're doing there is really punched a lot of people into Portland. And so there's a lot of cars, there's a lot of people, it feels really stuffy. So when you move over the river just a little bit, then you get to see some um amazing space for houses. Like the lots are a little bit bigger, the yards are a little bit bigger, people are more spaced out, people are just cooler. Like I definitely did notice a huge kind of vibe change when I crossed the river. And a lot of people have said that. So a lot of people that I have helped relocate here are like, oh, it's so much more like a slower pace. And I know like the West Coast is kind of laid back and chill, but when I'm in Portland, it's like a little bit faster, a little bit more. And then when I come over to Vancouver and Clark County, it's like, oh, hey, like, okay, like I need to do my chores, spend time with my family, do my dinners, that just the priorities are a little bit different. And like, it's also very neighborly. And I really love that. My neighbor across the street. So we we were mowing our lawn on a riding tractor. My husband was, and then all of a sudden the tractor wheel just fell off. Well, the rim busted. And I was like, oh my gosh. And this was last Saturday. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible." Like, so we were trying to call the tractor places. Nobody was open. I was like, "Okay, like everybody mows their lawn on the weekends. Why aren't the tractor repair shops open on the weekends?" Like Clark County Lawn and Tractor was not open. I'm like, so we called our neighbor and I was like, "Hey, like any chance you happen to have a spare tire?" Because we looked at like Lowe's and Home Depot. They didn't have anything. We like checked a couple of the like Les Schwab tire shops, that kind of thing. They couldn't, no one could help us. And I was like, okay, well, 2 days for Amazon and so we talked to our neighbor across the street. Bless him. He took the tire and he pounded the rim back together and he did some welding and he gave it back to us. Well, unfortunately, our yard is really bumpy and it broke again this weekend. So we are sans tractor until Thursday when the new tire comes in. But what I'm saying is like they didn't ask for anything. They just came, they saw, they're like, okay, let me try to fix it. And I was like, what can I give you? Like, what can I do for you? And they're like, no, 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 this is what neighbors do for each other. And I'm like, I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "Okay, like, what do you need from me? Like, if you need manual labor in a couple days, let me know. Like, whatever you need, like, I'm good. I'll help you out." Like, because they're getting older and they have, tractors and farms and all that kind of thing. I'm like, if you need me to come lift something or cut something or help you move something, cool, I'm in. So just very friendly, like want to help each other. Really, really appreciated that. I felt like some weird millennial that didn't know how to do anything, even though I grew up on a farm when we couldn't weld that. And I was like, okay. So what other things have people loved since moving here? So I've talked to a bunch of my clients that have done relocation and they like the space. They like that they're able to just have extra space and they're not like, I mean, some housing developments are like house, 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 house. But a lot of them, like you can go up. I have one client that moved into Kalama up into the hill and it just like has, I think they've got like 3/4 or like a full acre, acre and a half. And it's this house on the side of a hill and it just has a gorgeous view. And they have space, but yet they're super close to town. So if they need something from the grocery store, they're there in 10 minutes. It's not like they're forever and a day away. So they really love that. They love that they can use the interstates to get just about anywhere in a short amount of time because, okay, prime example. I have a girlfriend that lives in somewhere in Orange County. It's been a while since I've seen her and her husband and her kids, but she calls me on her drive home and it's 6 miles. On average, in her 6 mile drive home from work, we talk for almost an hour. And I say to myself, I'm like, girl, like, why don't you just run home? Because I feel like it would be faster. And she's like, well, and I'm like, well, she's like, there's no better way to go. But here, like, it's cool. You can drive around just about anywhere. I can get from my house, which is pretty close to Battleground, all the way into downtown Vancouver in 20 minutes. Or I can go from my house to like across town over to Ridgefield in less than 20 minutes. And so it's really nice that they have pretty good road system, good lights, good interstates. They can get you from point A to point B. Sometimes though, like you got to listen to Waze. I use it a lot. People are like, don't you know where you're going? You're a realtor. I'm like, I do, but I use it for two reasons. One, traffic, two, police. And the traffic, sometimes, that I-5 will back up or I-205 will back up going north. So then I end up like running back roads and it's still 20 minutes. So it's kind of nice just to know that like if you really needed to get somewhere, you could get there in 20 minutes. You're not like worrying like, oh my gosh, I need to go 4 miles and it's going to take me an hour. But I think a lot of people don't realize how similar California and Washington can be, but there's a lot of benefits to Washington versus say Oregon. Like the income tax, the housing, like you just get so much more house. And honestly, I feel like you get so much more nature when you're in large metropolitan areas like LA and San Diego and in San Francisco. You don't have as much nature. They have a few parks here and there, but like I can drive from downtown Vancouver into the woods in less than 20 minutes, like woods, woods, woods. And it is phenomenal to just be able to be out, be in nature, do whatever you need. Like driving out into the gorge is one of the most beautiful drives on the Washington side. It's a little sketchy sometimes though, because of the road being so narrow. When you go on the Oregon side, it's actually an interstate and it's 2 lanes both ways divided, all that kind of jazz. You can go a lot faster. So I think there's a lot of similarities, but I get a lot of people that have decided to make this move and to flee from California just because there's just so many people and like people are still moving there. People, there's an influx of outflux. I feel like it's kind of similar to when you see this influx and outflux from living in the city to living to the suburbs. And that happens generally as time goes on. So when the pandemic happened, everybody wanted out of the city because they wanted their space. They moved to the suburbs. Well, then they live in the suburbs. They're like, oh, I'm living in the suburbs. I'm having fun. And they're like, oh, I want more restaurants, or oh, I want it to be more commutable or more bikeable or more walkable where I can just walk to my restaurants. So then they start to inch back into town. And then the next thing you know, they're like downsizing and they're like, I'm tired of taking care of a yard, this, that, and the other. And they end up in a condo in downtown. So it's kind of the same idea, I guess, is that people are living in California. It's really crowded. They're doing their thing. They're having their fun. They are, living that life, whether it's, acting or, chasing that dream. And then they're like, okay, well, I could chase that dream somewhere else that's less expensive. Let's move north. And that way you still get the West Coast and the beauty of the West Coast, but you don't have to pay what you're paying in California, which is really expensive. And there's a lot of reasons to live in California as well. I mean, obviously, family. It's a really, really great weather. But there's other things too. One thing people did bring up to me that when they moved up here, they didn't realize that it was as smoky as it was. Because yes, fire season is real. And a lot of the wind in the summer and in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of our weather is like southern driven. So we get southern driven rain. You're going to see the side of your house, the south side of your house is probably going to need more paint. It's probably going to need more work. The windows might have a larger chance of leaking. You got to replace those more often on the south side of the house. Okay. So all that translates into when there's fires in California or Southern Oregon, that tends to blow our way. And then we get a little air quality issue. So it happens. It's there. Weather-wise, though, I think that people are like, it rains, but it doesn't like downpour for days and weeks on end. We get like damp little traces of rain every single day. So then you can say it's rained however many days in a row. It could be 14 days in a row it rained. I mean, we just got done with probably about a 10-day stretch where it was gray almost every single day. But I would say of the 10 days it was gray, I think we might have only gotten trace of rain, maybe 3 of them. So it was just like, oh, okay, it was gray. There were clouds. It did the thing. And then it went away. And like today, super blue. Actually, the clouds have kind of rolled back in, but they're supposed to be back out and fully sunny tomorrow, fully sunny on Monday, which is going to be absolutely amazing. Mike, I just saw it took us 3.5 hours to drive to Yosemite. Crazy drive times to get to decent destinations. Yep. 90 minutes to Mount Hood. You can go snowboard to 4 different mountains, 4 different resorts in 90 minutes here in the Pacific Northwest. Otherwise, if you want, you drive up north. You can actually, what did my husband said, like Whistler's about a 7-hour drive from Vancouver up into Canada, the Vancouver, BC, the cool Canada. I have another realtor friend that lives in Vancouver, BC. And when we're typically on a lot of the same mastermind calls and whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, Vancouver in the house. I'm like, yeah, cool Vancouver. We're kind of the Vantucky of places, which is funny, but not funny. Vancouver is not as redneck as you think. It's very blue collar farming, but farming does not always equate to redneck. People accentuate that a little bit further sometimes when they want. And I think a lot of the redneck comes from the younger generations when they're in school. That reminds me a lot of the people that I went to school with. I lived in a town in the Twin Cities. We were right on the southern end of the Twin Cities, so, like, half the kids lived in the country, the other half lived in town. So, like, everyone who was out in the country had pickup trucks, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I gotta go work on mom and dad's farm," or, "I'm going hunting this weekend," or, "Nah, nah, nah, nah," and then, like, the kids that lived in town are like, "Oh my gosh, mom and dad got me a brand new Porsche for my 16th birthday, and it was the wrong color." So I grew up in that, like, dichotomy of a really weird town, and I feel like Vancouver is kind of almost getting there. It depends where you're at. Like, I feel like Camas is the town where you'd be like, "Oh my god, they drive the truck," and then, like, half the kids are like, "Oh my gosh, mom and dad got me that brand new Porsche." And I love Camas. Camas is gorgeous. You could get some amazing houses there, but it's just really funny, fun place. So I feel like that's kind of like where that Vantucky comes in, but I wouldn't be afraid of it. I would actually very much embrace the culture. So there's a lot of farming, a lot of sustainability. They're really huge on, and this is another thing people really have loved, is they are really huge on farmers markets here. And my favorite one is the Vancouver's Farmers Market. And I think next weekend is when they fire up and start going Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll do Saturday and Sunday through the entire summer, all the way till October. And it's almost 4 full blocks down by Esther Shore Park, and it just makes this little cross. So, like, so here's the cross. Esther Shore Park's like right here, and so it goes down this street along the north side of Esther Shore, goes a little north, goes this way. And you can get tons of stuff there, not only produce, flowers. I've seen people with home tended honey. Is that how you say it? I mean, we have honey too, but home tended honey. And people that make their own meat and raise their own meat and package it and sell it. um there's a couple vendors that do like lotion candles, and that do goat's milk soap, and then just all sorts of different um incense and different craft projects, artwork. I mean, there's everything down there. Clothes, there's a ton of different stuff. It's a really cool place. And then in the summers, they start to marry that with some of the festivals. And I think that's another thing a lot of people have been enjoying. And that's what I've heard is how much like there is to do, even though Vancouver is a small town. There's a lot of different events. If you're not on it, I have a newsletter that I send out once a month. If you want to be on it, drop your name in the chat or down below. Give me and we can connect. You can give me your email address, or you can just go to my website and sign up for it. But I send out like market updates, all sorts of information, cool information, but it also is like things to do in the next few weeks. And a lot of it's stuff that I like to do, but I try to remember there's other people around, and tons of cool stuff. Like one of them was, they had a puppy or like a dog toy making class, and it could be BYOB. So you could go, and they had like all these things to make dog toys with for your dog, because it's very animal friendly here too. People love to have dogs. I mean, I've got my dog. She's staring at me so lovingly over the top of the computer, but overall, I think the big end of the picture is that California, like Washington, is a nice upgrade. I'll say that. I think it's an upgrade from California, because you're getting affordability, you're getting more homes, you're getting a lot more of things that you weren't getting down in California, but you still have the same luxuries. You're able to get more time because you're not spending so much time in the car. You are able to have more money because you're not spending so much in taxes. I mean, you are, but you're not with the house. I mean, if you go dollar value, but I just think that a lot of people are coming up here to do their retirement because of it's very similar to California, but a little bit more laid back, and people are tight on money, and people are tight with what's going on. You can't walk out of the grocery store without $100 and like one bag of groceries. So people are trying to find ways to continue living as they are, but maybe a little bit more affordably. And I think Vancouver is that option to a lot of people. And I think we're going to see a lot of growth. I know that I'm doing a lot of new construction with my clients right now, both relocation and local, just because there's so much affordability. There's a lot of incentives being offered. So if you are thinking about coming up here and you're hurt about the 7% interest rate, I will let you know. I did have just put a client in a contract with a local builder up here, and they have a 4.99 fixed rate for 30 years on their mortgage and they did not pay to buy it down. That was offered by the builder because they want people to buy the houses. And we have tons of building going on. So, in turn, I think that Vancouver is going to be great because of affordability for everything. I really think that Vancouver is going to be the growth place here in the 4-county area around Portland. And you get a lot more benefits because you also get that 10% raise when you live and work up here if you're working remotely. And yes, Mike, hopefully that lasts. I hope it does too. There's a lot of space up here. There is some people, but it's still very, very hidden. What I've been seeing a lot is a lot of people from Portland have been migrating over into Vancouver because they want more space, because they want more affordability, because there's other things that we didn't talk about today that I'm choosing not to talk about, obviously politics, that they're coming up here because things are a little bit different. Still the same, but different. There are people, they're helping people, they're doing things, they're moving, the government is moving and taking care of people. But I could do another 30 whole minutes on that. So I will leave y'all with this. So if you are thinking about making the move from California to somewhere, I urge you to look into Washington. I think Washington is a great place. We have great housing. We've got great activities. We've got great culture. We've got great food. We are very close to all the naturey things, whether you want a mountain or a river or a stream or a lake or the ocean, whatever you need, it's close by. I think that will be great as well. And I would love to help anyone who's looking to do this. Obviously, I'm a realtor. I'm also a farmer. I teach sustainability classes and farming classes and canning classes. And I teach people how to grow their own crops, take care of their animals, all sorts of things that I believe very truly and deeply in. And so I think that fits in very well with the culture here in Clark County in Southwest Washington. So if that's something you're very, very interested in, I think Clark County might be a great place for you going forward. Love to have you. So anyways, this was just a little bit of some fun and some funnies of why I think people are enjoying living here, people that are moving here and why they're moving here. And also, people just being snarky on the internet is probably one of my favorite things. Let me see if I can go find that. So there's a couple people here before we go. Let's see here. Okay. Here we go. Zookeeper Game Sharp, I feel like I need my glasses, says, I love Vancouver. I have been here now going on 7 years. I just recently took a trip to LA and kind of got lost in Compton. I feel safer there than I did in Portland. However, the traffic is way worse. There's way more people and nobody knows how to drive down there. Okay. Well, that's where we're at. And a couple other people deleted their comments. I was trying to find the really, really funny one. Okay. One Bacon Milkshake says, Vancouver is fucking horrible. Please stay where you are. No, I think Vancouver's fabulous. So One Bacon Milkshake, maybe you should not. And you got downvoted like 18 times. See, 18 people said One Bacon Milkshake was wrong on the internet on Reddit. All right, guys. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. I really appreciate you. If you've got more questions about Vancouver, living here, renting here, buying here, what there is to do here, I would love to help you out. All of my contact information is down below. Again, my name is Realtor Cass. I am a farmer with a real estate problem. And thank you so much for tuning in. Have a lovely Easter weekend. Enjoy your time. And until I see y'all again, bye.